Have you ever woken up feeling completely fine? No pain, no warning signs, and assumed your kidneys must be healthy because that single assumption is the reason millions of Americans discover kidney disease only after irreversible damage has already happened. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and I need you to hear this clearly. Kidney failure does not begin with pain. It begins in silence. While you're going to work enjoying dinner, living your normal life, tiny filtering units inside your kidneys are quietly dying one by one, and once they're gone, they never come back. What makes this especially dangerous is that the most common trigger isn't something dramatic. It's high blood pressure that feels not that bad, numbers just slightly elevated, dismissed for years as manageable. But inside your body, that constant pressure is crushing your kidneys every single day, pushing them closer to a point where medicine can no longer reverse the damage. And here's the part almost no one tells you soon enough: by the time standard lab tests finally show a problem, your kidneys may have already lost more than half of their working capacity. That's why so many people say, if I had known earlier, I would have done something differently. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what most patients learn too late, how kidney damage really starts, why it accelerates silently, and most importantly, what you can still do right now to reduce the pressure on your kidneys and protect what function you have left. Because once you understand what's truly happening inside your body, you stop guessing and you start taking control. Let's start with a group of foods that quietly protect your kidneys every single day, yet most people either eat them wrong or avoid them entirely: cooked leafy greens. I'm talking about spinach, Swiss chard, beet greens, and similar greens that many people fear because they've heard words like oxalates or kidney stones. But here's the truth most never hear. A few years ago, one of my patients told me, "Dr. Mark Ellis, I stopped eating greens because I didn't want to damage my kidneys." What shocked him was this: avoiding greens was actually keeping his blood pressure high, and high pressure is one of the fastest ways to destroy nephrons silently. When leafy greens are cooked, something powerful happens. Cooking reduces oxalate levels by up to 30 to 50%, while preserving minerals like potassium and magnesium, two nutrients proven to relax blood vessels and lower intraglomerular pressure. These greens are also rich in natural nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide, a molecule that improves blood flow and reduces vascular resistance inside the kidneys. Lower pressure means less mechanical stress on fragile filtration units. Multiple studies show that diets rich in cooked leafy greens are associated with better endothelial function and slower kidney decline, especially in people with hypertension. And unlike juicing, which concentrates oxalates, cooking allows you to discard the water while keeping the benefits, making this approach both safer and smarter. Think of cooked greens as a daily pressure relief valve for your kidneys. Simple, affordable, powerful. But knowing what to eat is only the beginning, because the type of protein you pair with these greens can either protect your kidneys or quietly accelerate damage. Now, this is where many people get confused and where kidney damage often begins quietly. Right after hearing that protein is bad for your kidneys, many patients panic and cut protein entirely. But here's the missing truth. The problem is not protein itself, it's the type of protein and the metabolic load it creates. And this is exactly where beans and lentils change the story. I once had a patient who followed a strict high-protein, low-carb diet for years. His labs looked fine at first until they didn't. Rising creatinine, creeping blood pressure, and early nephron loss. When we shifted part of his protein intake to beans and lentils, something remarkable happened. His blood pressure stabilized, inflammation markers dropped, and his kidney function stopped declining. Science explains why. Plant proteins from beans and lentils come packaged with fiber, potassium, magnesium, and alkaline compounds that reduce dietary acid load. Studies show that replacing animal protein with plant protein can lower intraglomerular pressure and slow chronic kidney disease progression. Unlike animal protein, beans do not spike glomerular hyperfiltration, they calm it. Their fiber feeds gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which reduce systemic inflammation and lower uremic toxins that directly damage kidney tissue. Research published in nephrology journals consistently links higher legume intake to improved insulin sensitivity, lower blood pressure, and reduced proteinuria, all major risk factors for kidney decline. Beans don't stress your kidneys. They teach your kidneys to work more efficiently. But even the healthiest protein won't protect you if your blood sugar and post-meal pressure spikes are out of control, because the next food quietly targets both at once. So after fixing what kind of protein you eat, the next silent threat to your kidneys is something most people underestimate every single morning: blood sugar and blood pressure spikes after meals. And this is where oats quietly become one of the most kidney-protective foods you can eat. I remember a patient who told me, "Dr. Mark Ellis, I don't eat sugar, so my kidneys should be safe." But when we looked closer, his blood sugar was spiking sharply after breakfast. White toast, cereal, even so-called healthy granola. Those repeated spikes were forcing his kidneys to filter harder, faster, and under pressure. We replaced his breakfast with simple plain oats. Within weeks, his post-meal numbers smoothed out, and so did his blood pressure readings. Here's why oats are different. Oats contain beta-glucan fiber, one of the most studied fibers in nutrition science. Beta-glucans slow glucose absorption, reduce post-meal insulin spikes, and lower LDL cholesterol. Clinical studies show oats can reduce systolic blood pressure and blunt sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight or flight response that constricts blood vessels and raises intraglomerular pressure. Oats also bind sodium in the gut, meaning less sodium reaches your bloodstream and less pressure is pushed onto your kidneys. For nephrons that are already fragile, this smoother, steadier blood flow is protective over the long term. Think of oats as shock absorbers for your kidneys, reducing metabolic stress every time you eat. But even with stable blood sugar and pressure, your kidneys are still under attack from another invisible force: oxidative damage, and the next food targets that threat directly. Once blood sugar and pressure are under better control, there's another quiet enemy your kidneys face every single day: oxidative stress. And this is where berries step in as one of the most underestimated kidney protective foods on the planet. I had a patient who did everything right: low salt, no sugar, normal labs. Yet his kidney markers kept drifting in the wrong direction. What we discovered was chronic inflammation at the microscopic level inside the glomeruli themselves. When we added a simple daily serving of blueberries and strawberries, his inflammatory markers began to drop within months. Nothing fancy, just consistency. Here's the science behind it. Berries are low in calories and relatively low in potassium compared to many fruits, but they're extremely rich in polyphenols, especially anthocyanins. These compounds directly protect kidney mitochondria, the energy centers of your kidney cells, and reduce free radical damage created during constant blood filtration. Human and animal studies show anthocyanins reduce markers of renal oxidative injury and slow nephron loss, particularly in people with diabetes or metabolic syndrome. Berries also improve nitric oxide signaling, helping blood vessels stay flexible and reducing intraglomerular pressure. Their fiber blunts post-meal glucose spikes, lowering insulin demand and reducing glycation damage to the kidney's filtration barrier. That's why higher berry intake is consistently associated with slower progression of diabetic kidney disease. Think of berries as microscopic bodyguards, shielding your nephrons from damage you can't feel but can't afford to ignore. But even antioxidants can't fully protect your kidneys if your mineral balance is off, because one overlooked mineral quietly determines whether blood pressure stays calm or spirals upward. After tackling oxidative stress, we arrive at a mineral that quietly decides the fate of your blood pressure and therefore your kidneys every single day: potassium. And few whole foods deliver it as safely and effectively as sweet potatoes. I once met a patient who told me, "Dr. Mark Ellis, I cut salt completely, but my blood pressure is still high." What he didn't realize was that avoiding salt is only half the equation. Without enough potassium, sodium tightens blood vessels like a clenched fist. When we added baked sweet potatoes to his meals just a few times a week, his blood pressure readings finally began to soften, and so did the stress on his kidneys. Here's why sweet potatoes matter. Potassium directly counterbalances sodium at the level of the nephron. It promotes sodium excretion, relaxes smooth muscle and blood vessels, and suppresses overactivation of the renin-angiotensin system, the hormonal cascade that raises intraglomerular pressure and accelerates nephron loss. Large population studies consistently show that higher potassium intake is associated with lower blood pressure and slower kidney decline in people without advanced kidney failure. Sweet potatoes also come packaged with fiber and antioxidants, which slow digestion and prevent sudden glucose spikes that force kidneys to overfilter. Unlike potassium supplements, whole food potassium works gently, gradually, and safely when kidney function is still intact. Think of sweet potatoes as a natural pressure regulator, quietly restoring balance meal after meal. But minerals alone can't do all the work because your kidneys also depend on your body's internal detox systems, and the next group of vegetables activates them at the genetic level. After restoring mineral balance, we now move into something most people never associate with kidney health: your body's internal detox system, because your kidneys don't work alone. And cruciferous vegetables are one of the few foods that strengthen the entire defense network that protects them. I once asked a patient with early kidney decline what vegetables he ate regularly. He paused and said, "Honestly, none. I thought detox teas would do the job." But detox doesn't happen in a bottle, it happens inside your cells. When we added broccoli, cabbage, and bok choy to his meals just 4 to 5 times a week, his inflammatory markers began to trend downward. Not overnight, but steadily. Here's the science. Cruciferous vegetables contain glucosinolates, which are converted when chopped or chewed into powerful compounds like sulforaphane and indole-3-carbinol. These activate the NRF2 pathway, a master genetic switch that turns on your body's own antioxidant and detox enzymes, including glutathione. Instead of flushing toxins, your cells become better at neutralizing and exporting them, safely reducing oxidative stress on kidney tissue. Studies show NRF2 activation protects endothelial cells, reduces inflammation, and improves mitochondrial function, critical for organs like the kidneys that filter massive volumes of blood every day. Cruciferous vegetables also lower gut-derived uremic toxins, easing the toxic burden your kidneys must process. Think of these vegetables as upgrading your kidney support team, not forcing them to work harder, but making the whole system smarter and more resilient. But even the best detox system can fail if your blood vessels remain stiff, because pressure once again becomes the silent executioner. And the next food directly targets that problem. Up to this point, we've been calming pressure, reducing toxins, and strengthening your kidney's defenses. But there's one silent factor that can undo all of that progress if left unchecked: stiff blood vessels. And this is where ground flax seeds quietly outperform many medications. I once had a patient who did everything right. Clean diet, low salt, plenty of vegetables. Yet his blood pressure stayed stubbornly high. When we looked deeper, the issue wasn't sodium, it was arterial stiffness. We added just 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed a day. 3 months later, his systolic blood pressure dropped noticeably without changing a single medication. Science explains why this works. Flax seeds are rich in lignans and omega-3 fatty acids, compounds shown in clinical trials to significantly reduce arterial stiffness and improve nitric oxide signaling. In fact, one well-known study found that 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed daily lowered systolic blood pressure by up to 10 millimeters of mercury, a reduction comparable to first-line blood pressure drugs. For your kidneys, this matters enormously. Flexible blood vessels mean smoother blood flow, less intraglomerular pressure, and less mechanical damage to nephrons over time. Flax seeds also improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation further, lowering the metabolic stress that forces kidneys to overfilter. But here's the key detail: many miss flax seeds must be ground, not whole. Whole flax passes right through your body. Ground flax delivers its benefits exactly where they're needed. Think of flaxseed as oiling the hinges of your vascular system, quietly restoring movement where stiffness once caused damage. But even relaxed blood vessels won't help if your meals still make you crave salt, because taste, not willpower, often decides kidney health. And the next food solves that problem in a surprising way. Even with flexible blood vessels and lower pressure, many people unknowingly sabotage their kidneys at the dinner table because of salt cravings. This is where mushrooms become a quiet but powerful game changer. I once asked a patient why his sodium intake stayed high despite strict advice. He said food just tastes bland without salt. That's when we changed flavor, not discipline. We added mushrooms, sautéed, roasted, or mixed into soups. Within weeks, his salt use dropped naturally without effort, and his blood pressure followed. Here's the science. Mushrooms are naturally low in sodium, rich in potassium, and packed with beta-glucans, a special type of fiber known to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. But what makes mushrooms unique is their umami compounds, natural flavor enhancers that satisfy the brain's craving for salt. Studies show that meals containing mushrooms allow people to reduce sodium intake by up to 30 to 40% without noticing a difference in taste. For your kidneys, this matters more than most people realize. Less sodium means less vascular constriction, lower intraglomerular pressure, and reduced long-term nephron damage. Mushrooms also help stabilize blood sugar, which lowers filtration stress after meals, especially important for people with prediabetes or metabolic syndrome. Another overlooked benefit, mushrooms support immune balance and gut health, reducing inflammatory signals that quietly accelerate kidney decline. Think of mushrooms as a behavioral shortcut. They don't just support kidney biology, they change how you eat without a fight. But lowering salt and sugar still isn't enough if your body's acid balance is off, because acid load quietly forces your kidneys to work overtime. And the next food addresses that problem directly. After reducing salt and calming inflammation, we reach another hidden stressor that slowly wears down your kidney's acid load. And this is where citrus fruits, when eaten the right way, become surprisingly protective. I had a patient who drank lemon water every morning and still developed kidney stones. When we looked closer, he was juicing everything and skipping the fruit itself. The fix wasn't more lemon, it was eating citrus whole. Once we made that switch, his urinary markers began to improve. Here's why whole citrus matters. Citrus fruits like lemons, oranges, and limes provide citrate, a natural compound that binds calcium in urine and helps prevent kidney stone formation. Citrate also reduces acid load, easing the burden on your kidneys. But when you juice citrus, you lose the fiber. And fiber is what slows sugar absorption, feeds the gut microbiome, and prevents sharp glucose spikes that force kidneys to overfilter. Studies show that diets higher in whole fruits are associated with improved endothelial function, better blood pressure control, and lower risk of kidney stone recurrence. The potassium in citrus further supports vascular relaxation, while flavonoids reduce oxidative stress inside kidney tissue. Think of whole citrus as a buffering system, neutralizing acid-calming blood vessels and supporting smoother filtration all at once. But even perfect mineral balance and acid control won't protect your kidneys if your hydration strategy is wrong, because water itself can either heal or silently harm. And the final food category reveals how. And here is the final point about vegetables, the reason why this simple habit works quietly but powerfully for kidney health. You see, your kidneys don't break down overnight. They get tired little by little every single day from excess waste, acid load, sodium, and blood sugar spikes. So they don't need extreme foods. They need gentle, consistent support. That's exactly where these humble vegetables come in. When vegetables like sweet potato leaves, fish, mint, cabbage, or cooked greens enter your body, they don't force the kidneys to work harder. Instead, they lighten the load. Their natural fiber helps bind waste in the gut so less toxin reaches the kidneys in the first place. Their potassium, when eaten in the right amount and properly cooked, helps balance fluids and reduce pressure inside the kidney filters. And their plant antioxidants calm down the silent inflammation that slowly damages nephrons over time. This is why many older adults notice something subtle but important after eating these vegetables regularly. They sleep deeper. They wake up with less swelling, nighttime urination decreases, and blood pressure becomes easier to control. Not because the kidneys were forced to detox, but because finally they were allowed to rest and recover. So don't underestimate a small bowl of simple greens. For aging kidneys, this is not cheap food. This is maintenance medicine, slow, steady, and safe for the long run. And when you eat them at the right time, in the right way, day after day, you're not just feeding your body. You're giving your kidneys the chance to keep working with you quietly, smoothly, for many more years to come. Before we end this video, I want you to hear this clearly. If your kidneys are weaker than they used to be, if you're waking up at night to urinate, feeling tired, swollen, or worried about your lab results, this is not the end of the road. Your kidneys respond best to small, steady changes. Not fear, not extreme diets, but understanding patience and the right daily habits. And that's exactly why I make these videos. If today's information helped you even a little, please save this video so you can come back to it when you need a reminder. And subscribe to the channel, because every week I share clear, science-based medical knowledge to help you protect your kidneys, control blood sugar, manage blood pressure, and age with strength and dignity. You don't have to figure this out alone. As long as you're willing to learn and take one step at a time, your kidneys still have a chance to work with you, not against you. Take care of yourself. Your body has been taking care of you for decades. Now it's your turn to return that favor, and I'll be here with you every step of the way.